Hey everyone, Chris Lewis, one of the co-founders of Fathering Together, here with Kyle Ashlee, one of the editors and authors of our new book that is now on shelves today, Fathering Stories, Volume 1. Kyle, thanks so much for being here today.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure.
It's amazing to say that this book is now out there and it's on the shelves. It's been kind of a labor of love for, I know, you and for Matthew as the editors, but all the authors. And I think first and foremost, before we get into your story, I want to just hear about the journey and how you got on this journey to bring these stories together.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think labor of love is really the greatest way to put it, because it has been such a great way for me to get involved with the Fathering Together community and to meet people, especially Matt Kelly, who is the other co-editor. He and I have been working very closely together, and so I've just really enjoyed the process, even though it has taken a lot of time. And comparatively to other projects that I've been a part of, this has come together pretty quickly. So yeah, it's just been really wonderful. But yeah, back in February, we all went to the Dad 2.0 conference in Washington, D.C., which is a big conference of dad bloggers and influencers. And it was my first time, and really it was a chance for me to meet so many of the other folks on the admin team of Fathering Together. And we started talking about this idea of a book, and Matt kind of laid out his vision, and he really sort of painted this picture of a book that was about celebrating fatherhood. And I'm still relatively new in my fatherhood journey. So my daughter is 19 months. She's about to turn 2 in October. And so far, it's just been the most incredible journey, the most incredible adventure. And I've learned so much already just in the short time that I've been a dad, and it's changed my life tremendously. And so I've been on this kick since becoming a dad of just trying to spread the message of just how wonderful it is to be a dad, because I know before I became a dad, I heard a lot of people talking about, oh, your life, and you'll never have a moment where all these things that you hear, and certainly there's a way in which those things are true. But I also think what I've discovered is, there's certainly an element of those sides of fatherhood that can be negative and that can be challenging. But there's also a flip side of those things that can be tremendous gifts if you are willing to see them that way. And so, yeah, for me, the book project seems like a really, really amazing way to spread the message to the whole world about how incredible it is to be a dad and all the things that you learn along that journey of being a father. And certainly it came together to be exactly that kind of project and to share that kind of message. So yeah, I'm just so proud to be a part of the book, and so proud to share it with the world. I sent a message to my friends and family just in the past few days, sort of announcing it and letting people know about it. And already just the response from my friends and family has been so positive, and people are so eager to read it and get their hands on it. So yeah, I'm excited to hear more of that from other people, and also excited to potentially start thinking about more stories and potentially more book projects down the road. Also, a lot of the reaction from folks has been like, oh, this is great. I would love to contribute my own story to a project like this. So, really it's an act like this where you open a door and you show people, look, listen to these stories, listen to how incredible these people's journeys are. And then it inspires other people to want to do the same. And really, I think that is the power of the Fathering Together community, both the dads with daughters and dads with sons, is it's this space where it just opens the door and it invites people to share their stories in a really powerful way. And the book it just captures a little bit of that magic, I think.
I find it really interesting because I know that you have been a writer before, and we both come from an educational background. And your writing in the past has been definitely a little bit different than in the writing that you're writing right now.
Yeah.
What kind of parallels have you found in the writing that you have done for the past, but also the now that you're writing for fathers? Talk to me about some of that difference that you're finding.
Sure. Yeah. So just a little bit of background about me and how I came to this project. So my background's in higher ed, like you said, and just in the last couple of years, I graduated with my PhD. So a lot of the writing that I was doing right before this project was very academic in nature. PhD dissertation type of writing, and you know, when I graduated and I got done with that, I think I really realized that the kind of writing that I was doing, um, the academic writing, I felt um, sort of pinned in, you know, sort of walled in by it because certainly, especially the kind of writing I was doing was qualitative in nature, which means it's really about trying to capture people's stories. And so I think that really has always been the spirit of the kind of writing that I do is about storytelling. But there is a sort of an expectation within academic writing that, you know, it sounds academic and it sounds very researchy and, you know, intellectual. And you know, sometimes I just want to tell a story with very vivid, you know, description and that paints a picture. And I know for me, when I read a story, those are the kind of stories I like to read. And so when Brian and Matt and you approached me about this book project, it really seemed like an opportunity to do some of this kind of writing and to invite others to do the same. And you know, I've actually been doing a bit more of that kind of writing. So I have a blog where I've been sharing some more stories about fatherhood, and I find it really liberating to be able to sort of open up and kind of let loose a little bit in terms of the kind of writing versus the academic writing that I was doing. So yeah, I think it's the kind of writing that I enjoy to read myself. So hopefully that resonates and comes through with other folks as well.
Now, you talked about painting a picture and painting and really telling a vivid story. And you have a very vivid story in the book where you talk about the transition that you went through to be able to really become a father and to kind of look at the identity that you had prior to being a father to the identity that you have now in being a father. And you wanted to read a little part of that, right?
Sure. Yeah. And I'll just share, you know, just kind of as a preface to frame it a little bit. Yeah. So this story kind of comes right off of the heels of graduating with my PhD, and in that sort of strange place where I was trying to figure out, do I pursue a career in higher education? Do I pursue a career, or do I make the decision to be a stay-at-home dad? And where do I fall in that decision? So that's kind of where the context of the story is. And I'm not going to read the whole chapter because obviously we want to leave to read when they buy the book. But I'll read a little snippet and then we can talk a little bit more about it. A little sedan shotgun in the back seat. My wife was wedged between his wife and my daughter's car seat. My buddy and I were catching up on life. It had been a while since we talked. In the past year, I had finished my PhD, moved to Minnesota, and bought a new house. He had also finished school, started a new job, and got a dog. He was curious to hear more about my decision to be a stay-at-home dad. At first, it was really motivated by finances, I said. Yeah, I've heard that daycare is expensive here. He and his wife didn't have any kids, but I heard about the woes that come viable and affordable childcare. It's really expensive, I said. For our daughter to go full-time, it would almost be the same as our monthly mortgage. His jaw dropped. The more we looked into it, the more we realized that it just didn't make sense for me to work. My salary would be just paying for daycare. Stay-at-home dad thing just temporary until someone else comes along, he asked. Embedded in his question seemed to be an assumption that parenting falls under a different category than what he considered to be work. Although he may not have intended it to come across that way, I interpreted his question to mean that being a stay-at-home dad was somehow inferior to what he referred to as something else.
You know, it's really interesting to when you're listening to that, and for all of you that haven't read the whole story, when you read the whole story, I think I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall to see what your parents felt, or how your parents and your family felt when you told them kind of the decision that you made.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I've always sort of been a pretty independent person, and my parents raised me to be that way. And so I made a few big decisions throughout my life that I sort of, had clenched teeth about. So, for an example, this is one, but then another one, I actually changed my last name when my wife and I got married. So my former last name was Carpenter. And then when my wife and I got married, we decided to create a new family name. And so my last name now is Ashlee. And so that was also sort of one of those moments. And, surprisingly, in both of those situations, my parents were very understanding. And I don't think what they would have wanted me to do. At least were understanding and supportive. And so I actually have gotten more questioning and some of that sort of hesitant uncertainty from friends and really maybe even people who I don't know that well. Those have been kind of the comments about like what you can't handle being a man and bringing home the bacon and that sort of thing. And to be honest, I haven't really gotten that much of that. And I think part of it is because I'm the kind of person that I don't think many people are surprised by the decision for me to be a stay-at-home dad. It kind of is in line with my values anyway. And so I think a lot of the people that I know and people that I'm friends with were not really surprised when that came about. And I also think people understand that um, especially in this first short time span of my daughter's life, 0 to 5 years, kind of before she goes to school. It's first of all a really important time in her life, and so I think people understand the sort of responsibility that parents feel to be at home with their kids during that time. And then also, I think people understand that I've still got a lot of life ahead of me, and I probably will go back to work and will pick my career back up at some point. But yeah, it definitely was more. I think the most pressure I felt about the decision actually came from myself. It didn't come from anything external. Um, had to do with just personal ambition and my own personal drive and my own personal feelings that in order to be um, like I feel like I had a self worth was to have a successful career. And so overcoming that that I needed to success to have any kind of good sense of self esteem and self worth. And so yeah, it was definitely a journey to come to that point.
And it seems like you've kind of come to that point. And as you've looked at that, have you looked at the time now that has gone by? What's been the biggest learning that you have come from, that you have taken from this experience with your daughter, versus what you thought you were going to take away from it?
Hmm. Yeah. So one of the things that I say all the time is that my daughter is my greatest teacher, and I say this because she's not even 2 years old yet, so it's not like she's writing on a whiteboard with markers to teach a lesson. But she, just like all have this incredible ability to show me the places in myself where I need to grow. Um, she'll inevitably do something where I get frustrated, or she'll inevitably do something where I lose my patience or I lose my cool. And it's in those back and reflect that I realize I need to do some growing around my patience, or I need to do some growing around whatever she was doing, so that I get impatient. And so I sort of alluded to this earlier, but the journey of fatherhood has really been a spiritual one for me. And I never expected that. I mean, before being a father, I would not have described myself as spiritual. I did yoga. I sort of dabbled in meditation a little bit, but only as a form of, you know, anxiety reduction, stress relief kind of stuff. But now I practice yoga and meditation every single day. I'm always reading some book about Buddhism or Christianity or some kind of faith tradition. And in large part, I think it's because being a father has opened up a part of me that is really willing to look at life from a bigger point. I've started to see that the purpose of my life is about more than what I thought it was about before. It's about something greater than just my career, and that's really what this piece that I wrote is about realizing that there's so much more to life than just a resume and just the things that you accomplish in a job. And that's not to diminish those things as well. Of course, I was really passionate about my career, and I'm really proud of the things that I did. And anybody who pour their life into a career, I think it's really admirable, and I think there's lots of good things to be done there. But I think for me, what I realized is through being a dad and stepping away from my career and slowing down my life, and children, force you to do that. They really require you to just be fully present in the moment with them all the time. And if you're not, the house lights on fire, because that's just how kids are. If you don't pay attention to them, they're inevitably going to get into something that you don't want them to get into or whatever. And so, yeah, you really have to be present with them, and being fully present in the moment has just, it's opened my eyes to see that there's so much more to life than just emails and meetings and the stuff that I used to do in my career all the time. And so, yeah, I didn't expect any of that to come out of being a dad, and now here I am, and talking to you and sharing this kind of story and message with the Fathering Together community. So I'm learning every day, and I'm so grateful for it.
Well, to be honest, that's exactly what happens with all of us as fathers. Mm-hmm. I think every day is a learning moment, and if we're not learning, there's something wrong. So definitely, I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I've been there. I still remember it somewhat, even though my kids are tweens and teens now. But I will say I thank you for sharing your story and for the hard work that you did to pull together amazing authors in this book. And I know the book is out there now. We've got it as an ebook, but also we're working on some print copies as well that people can be able to purchase. And I know for any of you that want to grab a copy for yourself, all you have to do is go to fatheringtogether.org/books. And there's links in there to all of the different platforms. So I highly encourage all of you to grab it. It's only $1.99. Not that expensive. So, definitely grab a copy. You're going to want to read this because the dads in this book come from so many different walks of life. And I think that that's one of the things that I love about this book is the fact that there are so many different dads that are showing that fatherhood comes in so many different types, and that no type of fatherhood is exactly the same, but it's also not every type of fatherhood there's not one type of fatherhood that's right. So it's important for all of us to know that the way that we go about fatherhood is our own, but we can still learn and grow from others to be able to be better men, be better fathers, be better, spouses, if you're in a relationship, or partners to the people that you're with, and just be better. And that's what Fathering Together is all about. That's what our communities are all about. And definitely, we hope that all of you will grab a copy of it today. And if you have a story to tell, we do have a storytellers group. So our storyteller, it's a storytellers group for Fathering Together. And we encourage any of you that have an interest in trying to tell your story in the future, come over and join the group, because we'd love to have you share your story or share some of your own writing in the future. And you don't have to be a professional writer to do this. You just have to have a story to tell. So Kyle, thanks so much for being here today. I really appreciate you sharing your story, and I definitely wish you all the best.
Yeah, thanks so much, Chris.